let's review some of the items that we need to be able to can at home. I've got a whole nice selection here, so I will just kind of go through them and talk about them. So obviously we need your Waterbath Canner or just a regular pot, as long as you have something that's deep enough so that your jars are covered with water by a couple inches. So you're gonna need a canning rack, and I've got a few things to show you. You can use a traditional one like this that you put into your canner, and it'll help you get the jars in and out. But the main thing you want is not let the bottom of the jar touch the bottom of the canning pot because of the heat. So you want something in between. You can get something like this, which is a trivet. That will help ensure the jar isn't touching the bottom. Or you can use your bands like this. This is like a really inexpensive way to do it. You just tie them like this, and you can put them on the bottom like that, and then your jars can sit on that. So those are 3 of the ways that you can have a canning rack or something that just helps your jars safely can. There's like 3 main tools that you have to have if you're going to can. And we talked about them a little before, but I'll go more into detail. So it's our headspace tool and also a bubble remover. And then you have your funnel. So essentially these things plus your jar lifter are something you must have because, all right, when you are doing your jars, you got your jar here. This really helps to fill your food in here so it's not spilling out. It's just so much cleaner. It can get a little messy sometimes, so you want it to be as clean as possible. You don't want to waste food, so you need to have this tool. You want to have this tool to lift your jars because you are going in and out of the canner, right? And it's hot. You don't want to touch it with your hands. So there's different steps in the process, but in a few of them, you're going to be putting jars into the water and then taking them out. This works really well. Do not use it with this side. I've seen people try to do that, and to be honest, I was a little confused at first on how to use this thing, but you don't do this. You want to use the nice side that has like that circular shape. So you can actually grab onto your jar. Like, you can hold it really tight and it feels really safe. Even when you have it full and it's heavy, it feels like you really have a good grip on it with this. So you need that. And then this headspace tool. So we talked about having that space at the top of the jar when you're following your recipe. Each approved recipe will tell you what kind of headspace you need. So if you look at this little thing, it says 1/4 inch, 1/2 inch, 3/4, and 1 inch. So each little stair step is one of those, and it helps you just be able, according to the recipe, to determine at what level your food should stop, and then you put your lid and band. So that is a nifty little tool. You really need this because it's very specific. There's a science to canning, and you really need to follow whatever the specific headspace the recipe says, and if you don't have this, you're not gonna really know. So keep that in mind. Bubble remover. So you want to make sure you use a tool that is not metal. You don't ever really want to put metal in your jars. You don't want to scratch them. You don't want to do anything that's going to damage your jar. So you want something that's plastic. And what that allows is that if there's any air, when you have filled the content into the jar, you want to just stir it around and make sure that you've removed any bubbles that might be in there. So if you, let's say, don't have something to do that with, you could use a wooden spoon or tool. But again, if you need this little headspace, it kind of is a 2-in-1 type thing, so that helps you as well. You can buy like kits like this that have all those in them already, which would just make it easier. They're not expensive, and it's just a nice way to know, like, hey, I've got all the tools I need for canning right in one spot. So this is specifically called a utensil like set. So this gives you all the utensils. A few other items that you don't like absolutely need, but will make canning much easier for you and to have on hand are things like a oven mitt. When you are going to remove the lid from your canner, there's steam, it could be warm. You might want to have something to protect your hand. Kitchen towels, that's a big deal. I actually will have some of those small white square towels because you're gonna be cleaning and you're gonna be doing all these steps. Towels are very necessary. You wanna have a nice ladle that you can actually scoop your food content nicely into, and then when you're kind of putting it into your jar, it's gonna help it not spill everywhere. So you want one of those. A cutting board is really nice. One of the most important things is to not place a hot jar directly onto a cold surface. So having a cutting board and a kitchen towel nearby that you can place your jars on is really important. That's mostly all the things. A scale. Sometimes the recipe will call for a certain amount of pounds of tomatoes, like 20 pounds of tomatoes, and it's really hard to guesstimate that. So if you have a kitchen scale, it'll help you. It's not absolutely needed, but that's just some of the things I use and have on hand. One thing I like to do, that's just a little tip that I do, is I keep everything inside my canner. So, meaning when it's stored. So I'll keep a ladle and towels and an oven mitt and all my tools in here because it's a pretty big pot. So when you go to can, you have it all in one place and you're not having to search your whole house for all these different things. You have it all there ready to go, and it makes it much easier. So that is something you can do as well.